Acetaldehyde plays a significant role in the flavor profile of beer. It is formed by yeast during the fermentation process. Acetaldehyde is a volatile compound and an important intermediate in the fermentation process, but it is also considered an off flavor when it reaches higher concentrations in beer. Acetaldehyde is a naturally occurring byproduct of the fermentation process and the most important aldehyde of beer. It is intermediate precursor of ethanol, produced when yeast converts sugars, such as glucose, into alcohol via a process called glycolysis. Acetaldehyde is typically present in small amounts in all beers, and its presence at lower concentrations can have a positive impact on the overall taste and aroma of the final product. Some beer styles, such as Bière de Garde, have noticeable level of acetaldehyde, which is one of the main flavor characteristics of the style, when in most other beer styles it is considered to be a flavor defect at higher concentrations. The presence of acetaldehyde in beer can be attributed to a variety of factors, including the fermentation process, yeast health, and oxygen exposure. Acetaldehyde accumulates during the active yeast growth period, while levels decline during stationary growth phase later in the fermentation. In some cases, incomplete fermentation or stressed yeast can lead to higher levels of acetaldehyde in the final product. Additionally, exposure to oxygen post-fermentation or during packaging can also contribute to the formation of acetaldehyde in beer. Brewers take several steps to minimize the presence of acetaldehyde in their beer. Proper yeast management, including pitching rates, fermentation temperature control, and oxygenation levels, can help ensure a healthy fermentation process and reduce the production of acetaldehyde. It is also important to provide adequate wort-free amino nitrogen and zinc levels to ensure good yeast nutrition. Additionally, careful handling of the beer during packaging and storage can help prevent oxidation and the formation of acetaldehyde post-fermentation. In beer, acetaldehyde is often perceived as green or bruised apple or freshly cut pumpkin, while others describe it as having a solvent-like or an emulsion paint aroma. The compound is present in all beers and can positively contribute to the character of beer at lower concentrations. It is considered a flaw when present in high concentrations, as it can impart undesirable off flavors and aromas that detract from the overall drinking experience. Acetaldehyde is typically perceived as a sharp, slightly sweet flavor that can be off-putting to consumers. Typical flavor threshold is between 5 and 15 milligrams per liter. Acetaldehyde can be detected through gas chromatography or by a sensory analysis. Gas chromatography is the most accurate method for detecting acetaldehyde concentrations. It separates volatile compounds based on their chemical properties, allowing precise measurements. Taste panels and trained sensory experts can identify the presence of acetaldehyde based on its characteristic aroma and flavor profile. Sensory evaluation procedure should include swirling the glass to release the aroma, followed by a long sniff and taking a sip to taste the beer. If present, acetaldehyde green apple character should be evident. It is important not to confuse acetaldehyde with other apple-related flavors, specifically ethyl hexanoate, which is an ester also produced by yeast during fermentation process. Those two flavor standards should be tested next to each other during training. High levels of acetaldehyde can be indicative of improper brewing practices, prompting brewers to adjust their processes to improve beer quality. Overall, Acetaldehyde is a compound that can significantly impact the flavor of beer when present at high concentrations. While low levels of acetaldehyde are considered acceptable in certain beer styles, excessive amount can lead to off flavors and aromas that diminish the overall drinking experience. Brewers must carefully monitor and control the production of acetaldehyde during the brewing process to ensure that their beer meets quality standards and provides consumers with a pleasurable drinking experience. Control of fermentation temperature, yeast health, and proper fermentation practices are key to minimizing its impact.